Most people hear the word inflation and immediately think, prices are going up, but that explanation is incomplete and a little misleading. Inflation is not just about prices rising. It is about what your money can no longer do. Here's a simple way to think about it. If last year the same amount of money could solve more problems than it can today, inflation is at work. Nothing dramatic has to happen.
No crisis. No headlines.
Just a quiet change in purchasing power. Imagine this. You earn the same income this year as last year. Your salary did not drop. You are not poorer on paper. But groceries cost more. Transportation costs more. Data plans, rent, basic services slightly higher. Individually, each increase feels small. Together, they reshape your financial reality. That is inflation in real life. Inflation does not usually arrive as a sudden shock. It arrives as erosion. Your money still looks the same. The numbers in your account have not disappeared. But the value behind those numbers has thinned out. At its core, inflation means that money loses purchasing power over time. Not because you did something wrong, but because the system changed around you. One reason inflation is so confusing is that it is often described from a national or global perspective. We hear percentages, policies, and economic terms. But inflation is personal. It shows up when you adjust your habits without consciously deciding to. You buy slightly less. You delay certain purchases. You substitute brands. You rethink what normal spending looks like. None of this feels like a major financial decision. Yet all of it is a response to inflation. Another important point is that inflation does not affect everyone equally. Two people can live in the same country and experience completely different versions of inflation. If most of your income goes toward essentials, inflation hits harder. If your income rises slowly or not at all, inflation feels heavier. If your expenses are flexible, inflation feels manageable. If they are fixed, it feels suffocating. Inflation is not just about prices going up. It is about imbalance between income growth and cost growth. And this is where misunderstanding often happens. People assume inflation only matters when prices rise sharply. In reality, even moderate inflation changes long-term outcomes. Slow inflation over time can be more powerful than sudden inflation. Think about it this way. A small leak does not flood a house overnight, but left unattended, it weakens the foundation. Inflation works the same way. Quiet, gradual, persistent. This is also why inflation changes behavior more than it changes numbers. It influences how people plan, save, spend, and even think about the future. When inflation is high or unpredictable, people become more cautious. They focus on short-term decisions. Long-term planning feels risky, not because people lack discipline, but because the ground feels unstable. This is not about panic. It is about uncertainty. Another overlooked aspect of inflation is that it reshapes expectations. What once felt expensive becomes normal. What once felt affordable becomes a luxury. Over time, society recalibrates its standards, not upward, but inward. People adjust quietly, rarely calling it inflation, but living it daily. Inflation also changes the meaning of savings. Saving money used to feel like freezing value. Inflation turns it into a moving target. This does not mean saving is bad or pointless. It simply means saving exists within a changing environment. Money stored today does not automatically represent the same value tomorrow. Again, this is not advice. It is observation. Inflation is not a moral issue. It is not a personal failure. It is a structural reality of modern economies. Understanding inflation is less about reacting to it and more about recognizing it. When you recognize it, you stop being confused by it. You stop asking, why does everything feel more expensive? and start seeing the pattern behind the feeling. Inflation explains why income increases do not always feel like progress, why budgeting feels tighter even when nothing dramatic changed, why financial stress can rise without a clear cause. It is not always about earning more or spending less. Sometimes it is about the silent shift in what money represents. So when people ask, what does inflation really mean for my money? The honest answer is this. It means your money is part of a moving system. It means value is not fixed. It means the same number can deliver different results over time. Inflation does not take your money away. It changes the rules of what that money can do. Once you understand that inflation stops being an abstract economic term, it becomes a lens, one that helps you make sense of everyday financial pressure without fear, hype, or false certainty. And that understanding alone is more powerful than most people realize. This is Money Explained. This content is provided strictly for educational purposes and does not constitute financial advice. Subscribe if you want clarity, not confusion.